On this episode of Cinema Disaster, we're going to be talking about the 1989 Tim Burton classic, Batman. This was the first Batman installment from Warner Brothers. It was based on Alan Moore and Brian Boland's The Killing Joke, as well as Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. And I know originally there was other people tied to the project. There was Joe Dante, who did The Burbs and Gremlins, Ivan Reitman, who obviously was a producer on Ghostbusters. Originally they had been in talks to have Bill Murray play Batman. Eddie Murphy was going to play Robin. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That was like early, I guess in the 80s or whatever, because this had been in development since 81, 83, somewhere along the lines. But
if they freaked out about Michael Keaton, can you imagine if Bill Murray was Batman? Like how much people would have been like, what?
Because remember, well, you told me this when we were watching the movie just now, that when Tim Burton was a director, everybody they automatically thought of Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So that they were, although he was successful with Beetlejuice, they still were kind of skeptical on that, but they were really skeptical about the choice of Michael Keaton going to Batman.
Yeah, because he really was just a comedic actor. You know, Mr. Mom is going to be Batman? Are you kidding me?
Jack Nicholson as the Joker. And what was the story about the $1 million thing?
Supposedly he turned the role down and he said, the only way I'll do this is if you pay me $1 million, which at that time was not very common for actors. And Warner Brothers said okay. So then he did it.
And dude, one of the best Jokers ever.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Jack Nicholson Joker.
And the whole reason Sam is sitting in today is because he's a huge Batman fan in all forms, comic books, cartoons, you name it. And like, who are your favorite Jokers? I know you talked about it to me.
I would say, of course, Mark Hamill is the best.
From the animated series.
From the animated series, obviously. Jack is up there, and I already forgot his last name. Cameron Monaghan?
From Gotham.
From Gotham, the kid that played it. That guy, that was actually surprisingly amazing performance all around, every aspect that I've seen of that guy's performance as the Joker or the proto-Joker leading up to it. If you watch the show, you know what I'm talking about. The show itself, not that great, I don't think, but that Joker is amazing.
Yeah, Gotham definitely has its moments. There's certain things I like about it and certain things I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that, I forget the names because I don't watch the show that much, but the person playing the Penguin is really good. The girl that plays Catwoman, I thought was really good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and the guy you said that plays the Joker.
Yeah. He's probably actually the best performance in the entire series, to be honest. But yeah, so you might have noticed I didn't put Heath Ledger in that top 3.
Or Cesar Romero. Although
I love both of those Jokers.
I love all of them, yeah. Except for I didn't really like, my brain's freezing.
Leto?
Jared Leto, yeah.
Yeah.
He just looks like a meth head rather than Joker.
Yeah. And then I guess we'll see, because at the time we're filming, Joker isn't out yet.
With Joaquin Phoenix. It's coming out this year, yeah.
The trailers look promising.
Yeah.
It could be a pretty cool...
Yeah, you know, it reminded me, the trailer reminded me of a Scorsese film. You know, like
yeah.
Taxi Driver. But I know a lot of people are saying that, so...
yeah.
Maybe I think that because that's what I've heard, or you know, I don't know. You know, it's hard to tell, but it looks good. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
Billy D. Williams, fucking Lando Calrissian in this movie as
Colt 45.
Yeah, as Harvey Dent. Although he never becomes Two-Face. So.
And he's not even in the second film.
Yeah, so I don't know if they had plans for him to eventually turn into Two-Face, because eventually it got to where it was Tommy Lee Jones playing when it came around to Two-Face.
Yeah, and that came into play when Schumacher took over, and
yeah,
that
doesn't count.
That all was not good.
We'll get into that later, you know. But so we have that. We have. Kim Basinger, who was really a really popular actress at the time, who was in tons and tons of movies, and then I don't know, I haven't heard anything from her in a long time. Of course, I guess I haven't really heard much from. Well, yeah, no, Michael Keaton was the Vulture in Spider-Man: Homecoming.
And he did Birdman.
Oh, that's
a couple
right, he
years
did.
ago,
Yeah. So he's he's been making a comeback, I guess.
He's
more of a Jack Palance. Who, like I was telling you, when I grew up, Jack Palance was the host of Ripley's Believe It or Not. And so that voice, to me, is forever connected to that show. Kind of like you talked about with Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah, with Robert Stack. The voice, you know,
you can't separate the two.
No, you can't.
Although they did try and bring back Unsolved Mysteries with, I think, Richard Frenna or whatever, but it just was not the same.
And that is funny, though. Not to get too off topic, but Jack Palance and Robert Stack, they have a similar rasp in their voice.
They have a very distinct voice. You don't need to see them; you just need to hear them.
You know who that is.
Yeah.
Anytime you hear them talking. But
I want to talk about how. Tim Burton got this role. You know, when he directed Pee-wee's Big Adventure, that movie became a financial success. And after that, Warner Brothers offered him the directing role of this film. Although it wasn't greenlit, this movie was not greenlit until after Beetlejuice was a success. Once Beetlejuice became a mainstream success, box office hit with Tim Burton, then it got greenlit. And then it was able to go... and get made, and it kind of follows the story, kind of the origin story of the Red Hood, but they leave the Red Hood whole thing out of it.
Yeah, they leave all that out, and instead of being a really insecure, failed stand-up comic, he's an overly confident gangster.
Right, and you said you like his sort of overconfidence in this, kind of he's an asshole in this movie.
Yeah, it makes me laugh at, even before he's the Joker, like what an asshole he is to just the people around him in little scenes, you know, like when, I forget her name, but the one chick says, "You look great, by the way," and he just looks at her like, "I didn't ask," you know?
Yeah.
Like, stuff like that, or, you know, there's scenes where somebody might put their hand on his shoulder and he just looks at him like, "What? You touching me? Are you really?" Like, yeah. I think it was well played. It's different, but
another thing that was different, but you said you liked, is that in the original comics, the Joker did not kill Batman's parents. It was a guy by the name of Joe Chill.
Yes.
But you said you liked this change. Why? And tell the audience, I guess.
Because it's poetic, and I love, like, and, you know, I kind of, being the nerd I am, I kind of wrestled with that a little bit, like, oh, they changed the source material, but I think for what the movie is, it is acceptable and poetic. because then, as plot devices go and character development goes, at the end, you get the interaction between them where the Joker is basically he flat out tells Batman, like, hey dude, you did this to me. You did this to me. And then Batman retorts back like, you did this to me first. I made you, you made me first. And I think that is actually really awesome. That's a really awesome idea.
It does make a cool dynamic between the two.
Yeah, it's a really awesome dynamic between the two characters.
And I really, really like the style of this film. Whereas, the 60s show, which I do love, went for a more campy, cheesy vibe, but it's cheesy
Filmed in Indiana.
Yes, on purpose. It was cheesy and campy on purpose, but it was still great. This film, is a totally different animal, and it's obviously got a darker tone. It's got the film noir look to it. I know that it's the cityscapes. They look very dark and bleak, and I know that I heard that a lot of it was influenced by Terry Gilliam's movie Brazil, and
really,
and to me, and it even looks like it takes place in maybe the 30s or 40s. It's like a time period piece almost. And where did you say they filmed it in England or something?
In England, most of it was filmed on a soundstage in England.
So soundstage.
Most of what you see isn't anywhere real. It's all sets that were built, and I really appreciate. I miss that. As amazing as green screen or whatever is now, and CGI. I miss practical effects and. So a lot of that, the cathedral, that was just built. That wasn't a place. That was a sound stage.
Right.
And I think that's part of how they got that darkness in those scenes, is because they could literally just turn off all the lights,
It doesn't feel like the real world. It almost feels like a dream world or something. Whereas Nolan went for a more realistic effect. It's almost like the movie Dick Tracy, because it also looked very unreal, comic booky.
Yeah, and I don't know, but I would bet that was filmed on a soundstage too.
Yeah, which Dick Tracy, we will do a review of that sometime in the future. But in the Batsuit, I remember when I first, I grew up watching the '60s Batman, so I was used to the cloth. The gray and the blue.
The gray and blue. And him running around in the daytime.
The leotard or whatever, And I remember when this movie came out in '89, and I remember going to see it, and I was very mesmerized by the overall look of the Batsuit. It was black, and it was like a putty armor almost, or with with the yellow belt and the yellow symbol, and I thought the black and yellow art contrast was very striking and very powerful. And you liked that, but you said you liked what was your favorite suit color combination? Or
they've never done it in the live action movies. They sort of did with the Affleck Batman, but my favorite suit combo is the shorter ears with the black cowl, black cape, black gloves, black boots, yellow belt, and then the fat ass fucking black bat symbol on the chest.
And maybe they will do that someday. You never know.
But
because they are coming out with the Batman.
They are
2021 supposedly. I'm not sure. I don't think Ben Affleck's doing it anymore. But
no, he's not.
I mean, they're going to find somebody else to do it. So we've got that. You never know on what that suit's going to look like.
But I like all. I like the suit and Batman and Batman.
And the
Returns.
Batmobile looks fucking good in this. I always wanted that car. I still do.
It's like my favorite Batmobile.
I like it. I like that in the '60s one. Yeah,
with the fucking top that just
like I love the Dark Knight, but the Batmobile in the Nolan series is just
it's a tank.
It's not cool, man.
Yeah,
I don't know, it's not a car.
It's not. It's just a tank.
Yeah. But there's just something about this one and the '60s one that looked great. It looks great.
Like the one in the Nolan movies, it didn't feel like it had any ownership to it. Like these are films based on a comic book. You know, it's kind of like why I like the Batjet. Is it looks like the bat symbol, and as cheesy and stupid as that sounds.
It looks fucking cool, though. It does.
I like that. Whereas the Tumbler, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
That's the actual vehicle that Nolan used, which apparently, from my understanding, that's a real vehicle. It was just a vehicle that was painted black. And, they're like, oh, that's the Batmobile. But it didn't feel like Batman had any ownership over it.
Just in the Tim Burton film, like, the car itself is a character.
Yeah.
Sort of like the DeLorean in Back to the Future, or the van in the A-Team.
Or the Echo One.
Echo One in Ghostbusters. Like, those General Lee and Dukes of Hazzard. Like, all those cars are characters of their own.
When you see it, you know. If you see the Tumbler from Batman, you're just kind of like, man, like that can't. For all the awesome stuff that thing could do, it does not compare to the '60s Batmobile or the '89 Batmobile, or I mean, really any Batmobile.
We actually went to Walmart the other day, and you bought some Batmobile toys. Which ones did you get?
I should have brought them. I bought. They were Hot Wheels. So, I collect those sometimes. Sometimes. Not hardcore. Just when it's like movie
You don't got to convince our audience that you're not a nerd. I mean, because I'm pretty sure they know. I mean, we both are. I collect toys.
You can cut that out. But, so I bought...
no, it's staying in.
That's fine. So I bought the '89 Batmobile from this movie, and the animated series Batmobile, and the '60s Batmobile. So those are my those are the best Batmobiles.
I think they did have a Dark Knight one, didn't they, with the Tumbler?
They did, yeah.
And you just left that on the shelf.
I was like, no, I don't want that. I don't want that.
Also, the music in this film. I mean, Danny Elfman, who was a member of Oingo Boingo, and before he went off on his own, he had already had, like, Oingo Boingo was in all the cool '80s comedies. I know he was in, like, had songs in Weird Science.
And they are actually a pretty... I like them.
They were in Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield, and
I don't know how you feel about Oingo Boingo, but I like Oingo. There's certain days where I want to hear their... I
like them because they remind me of all the movies I watched growing up.
Yeah.
And, he also did the music for Beetlejuice. And did the music. Tons of stuff. I mean...
The Simpsons.
Yeah.
The Scrooged.
That's with Bill Murray. Yeah, that's another good film.
I mean, he's been all over. He did the first two Spider-Man movies, the ones directed by Sam Raimi, which we don't... Well, I think he did all three. He did all three of those.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then Prince. For all you Prince fans, there's a lot of Prince on the soundtrack. I personally like Prince, but I don't know how Sam feels about him, but there's a lot of Prince songs on this. I like
Prince.
Yeah. We got Bat Dance and Party Man. And
I'm not super into his music, but I respect the talent.
I grew up watching Purple Rain, dude. Morris Day and the Time.
Yeah, I love some Prince every now and then.
So that I remember when this movie came out, it wasn't just people freaking out. Well, I mean, I guess they freaked out over Keaton before they saw it.
Yeah.
and Tim Burton. After they saw it, obviously, that went over well, but the parents flipped their goddamn shit. I remember that because I was a kid at the time, and I just remember there just being this big controversy over, like, how dark this movie was, how violent it was. There, people were saying, there's nothing in it for children, and do you remember that? Like, all that shit going down?
I was too young to actually be aware of that at the time. I saw it in theaters.
I did too, yeah.
My grandma took me, actually.
Yeah. I don't remember who took me. Probably my parents.
But I've heard about that later, and then I think that's silly.
It's just like they freaked out over like we talked about in the Ninja Turtle review. They freaked out over the first live-action Ninja Turtles movies for the same reason.
Yeah, too dark, but I mean, I saw both of those movies when I was a kid. I was born in 1984.
Yeah.
Batman came out in 1989. Saw that in the theater. Ninja Turtles came out in 90. Saw that in the theater, and it didn't scar me or fuck me up.
Now, whether or not it scarred me, I think I was already scarred, so I can't put full blame on this film for me being fucked up. But
I think those were both really, really awesome films.
It didn't deter the sequel. When Batman Returns came out in 1992, it was still dark.
Yeah.
And then you have Michelle Pfeiffer as the Catwoman, who the suit looked awesome. She was a great Catwoman.
Yeah, they revamped the suit.
The Penguin, we had Danny DeVito. And
although I will say Batman Returns does get a little ridiculous.
It does.
But it is still, I like it.
It's another one of those debates. Is it a Christmas movie or not? But whether or not it is or not, like Gremlins, it does take place around Christmas for some reason. They don't never really explain why, but
it just does.
Yeah.
But
I own it. I still own both films, Batman and Batman Returns.
You know what? That's funny that you bring that up. I never thought about this till just now. One of the things in that movie is there's going to be an election for the mayor.
Right.
That's like what the Penguin's doing. And it's all around Christmas. And it's like, what place in our country holds elections around Christmas? I don't know. That's silly. But there's a lot of silly shit in that movie.
Right.
I mean, Batman literally punches a penguin. Not the penguin.
Yeah,
a penguin.
Animal abuse.
Yeah.
And Tim Burton directed this again. Obviously, Michael Keaton returning as Batman. And Tim Burton, like we said, directed Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And Paul Rubens played the Penguin's father at the beginning, remember?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. He makes an appearance in this. However, in 1995, the studio Warner Brothers did buckle under pressure for Batman Forever because although Batman Returns was a financial box office success, they were greedy fucks and they decided, it didn't make as much money as we wanted it to. So let's make this more commercial, more mainstream. Let's get rid of the dark elements and that way we make more money. And Tim Burton wasn't down with that. He did not like the direction of the film. He was he left.
He left.
And was replaced by Joel Schumacher. And then Michael Keaton was not happy with the direction of the film, and he said, I don't like the direction, and if Tim Burton's not directing it, I'm not interested. And he left. And then they replaced him with Val Kilmer. And then they added Robin, which was who played him?
Chris O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell. And Sam, let's talk to the audience a little bit about Batman Forever before we get into Batman and Robin.
So Schumacher's approach was basically that he wanted to revisit the campiness of the Adam West days, but he also wanted to retain some kind of darkness
Right.
over it, and you can't do both. So that's why all of a sudden everything was neon. I don't know why, when that was his approach, why all of a sudden the Batsuits had nipples.
Oh yeah, they had
I
nipples,
don't know
right.
why that happened, and I know that's
Probably.
that's almost like cliche now to talk about at this point on the internet.
But at the time, it's like, what? You know?
No, but I mean, even still, it's cliche for a reason to even bring up that point. It's still, it's been, what, that movie
95.
came out 95, and
Yeah.
it's 2019, and people are still like, why'd he put nipples on the suits?
I don't know.
Yeah, nobody knows. That's weird. So
and that's where we also had Jim Carrey as the Riddler.
Jim Carrey, Riddler.
Is that the one Batgirl came in? Which
No, that was the next
Batman
one.
and Robin. Okay,
That was the next one.
And Tommy Lee Jones, who I heard
Two-Face.
allegedly, I heard he was a real asshole to work with. Allegedly.
Oh, I've heard all of them were. Well, I shouldn't say all of them, but I've heard Val Kilmer was a huge dick on that set. Tommy Lee Jones was a dick. And actually, I'm heard that Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey had kind of a thing, like they did not like each other or get along, to the point where it was like if they weren't in a scene together, they just better to not be around each other.
When it comes to Jim Carrey, I like some of his stuff and some stuff I don't. Like,
Yeah.
I really liked Fire Marshal Bill when he was on In Living Color. I thought that should have been a movie, but it never was. And I like a lot of like Jim Carrey's like more serious roles. Like when he played Andy Kaufman in Man on the Moon, I thought that was great. You know, some of his comedies, like I liked Ace Ventura when I was like in high school, but I just rewatched it the other day and I don't know. I mean,
You lost it? Really?
I don't know.
I'm younger than you, though, so
Right.
it probably made more of an impression on me. I fucking love the first.
You still like it?
Oh, I still love the first.
I
Ace
own it on
Ventura.
VHS. I just don't. I don't watch.
But like
it.
I'm saying, like it came out in that spot for me where it was the right time. It made an impression on me, similar to like around that time is when I saw like Ferris Bueller's Day Off or something.
Well, I still love those. Yeah.
But yeah, we're getting off topic.
Yeah.
But
well, then we go to the next one that is a complete monstrosity, and that is the 1997 Joel Schumacher film, Batman and Robin. And you got to tell the story of George Clooney apologizing.
So that movie, oh my God.
Wow.
So whereas Batman Forever actually does have some parts of it, kind of like Gotham, where it's like some parts of it, when I watch Batman Forever, I'm thinking, this is maybe kind of good. If they would have gone more in this way or that way, it could have been awesome. Or it could have been good, I should say that. Not awesome, but could have been good. Batman and Robin is just fucking terrible. You got Arnold Schwarzenegger playing
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze.
Awful.
Which
Oh
is
my
awful.
gosh.
And that might be the most redeeming part of the film.
Doesn't
just
he
because
say,
of his stupid one-liners.
Cool out. Does he say that?
Chill out.
That's chill out.
Chill out, Gotham. Yeah, he's got a bunch of ice puns that he says.
He had a heart attack during that film. Not that that's funny, but, you know, I mean, if you
I
were in
didn't know
that film,
that.
you might have a heart attack, too.
I didn't know that. And then you got Bane is in there.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he's
behind
totally
Poison Ivy, yeah.
Stupid. Who was it? Uma Thurman played
from
Poison
Pulp Fiction
Ivy.
and
she's a great actress.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So
But I
I
mean,
don't know
once
what
again,
happened there.
it could be the fault of the director. You don't know.
Yeah.
Because I
And
heard,
then, well, go ahead.
I heard in an article that I read that when he would direct the film, he would tell the actors, remember, when you're acting in this scene, pretend like you're acting in a cartoon. So apparently he wanted a cartoon quality to this film. I don't know. If that's true, I don't know. You know?
See, that's dumb because, like, every DC Warner Brothers animated movie is 100 times better.
Right.
Than,
Under the Red Hood.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a great film.
But yeah, it was just a monstrosity. It was so I guess I'll try to finish running through the cast. So George Clooney is Batman. Chris O'Donnell comes back as Robin. Then you got Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl. And
she has her bat cycle too.
Yeah, that was like the big thing.
Yeah.
She had a bat cycle. Yeah, I know, it's so stupid.
Oh man.
And then, but it was too much, and it didn't know what it wanted to do. Like at one point, Batman pays for something. And it's not campy, it's not funny, it's just weird. And he pulls out a bat-shaped credit card.
Oh, I remember that. Yes, because I went to the movies to see that too.
And it was it was supposed to be funny, but it wasn't funny. It was like...
Time I will never get back.
What was that? Like...
Right. So after this monstrosity, there was an attempt, at least a pitch anyway, to Warner Brothers by it was a proposal, I guess, by this comic book fan. I think it was to do a movie called Batman Unchained, and Nicolas Cage was approached to do the Scarecrow. The Joker was supposed to return. So. Obviously, that never came to be. So, I mean, we'll never know what that would have been like. I mean, you said you was really hoping that Superman with Nick Cage would have came out because.
Could you imagine, dude? Like Nick Cage as Superman. Have you ever seen the pictures?
Oh, I have. Yeah.
Of him in the suit.
Yeah.
Man, like, and I don't hate Nick Cage.
No, I don't either.
He's not.
Valley Girl was great, and he was in some other cool stuff.
Raising Arizona.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
But Nick Cage is Superman. God, I wish they would have made that.
He was Ghost Rider.
Yeah, those sucked.
They did.
Those sucked hard.
And I liked the Ghost Rider comics growing up, too. But,
yeah, Ghost Rider's cool.
I remember there was also what Dean Cain did. What was it? Lois and Superman? Was that the show, or what was it in the
Lois
90s?
and Clark?
Lois and Clark,
because it was like a play on Lewis and Clark.
That's right. I remember that show.
He did the on TV Superman.
I remember that show, and then obviously there was Smallville, and there's been a bunch of stuff that's came along. Since then, I know there was a proposal to do, after I guess Batman Unchained fell through, there was a proposal to do a live-action Batman Beyond, which also fell through, but that's something you said everybody wanted to see, or a lot of people still probably want to see.
Yeah. Batman Beyond was like a sleeper hit, like, when the weeks leading up to that cartoon airing, which that never existed in the comics. It was never that's a unique thing that went to the TV show first and then to the comics. I thought it sounded stupid. Like, oh, this sounds dumb. Like, It's in the future and Bruce can't be Batman anymore and he's training some kid. That's dumb. And then I started watching it, and it actually is really, really good. Like, it is on par with the original animated series. Some of the stories are just as good as the comic books. oh, what is it called? I think it's called Return of the Joker. There's a Batman Beyond movie called Return of the Joker, which gets pretty sci-fi about how the Joker comes back.
Yeah, I've never seen that one.
But it's really cool, and it has, if depending on which version you watch, it has one of the darkest fucking endings I've ever seen. And actually, depending on which version you see, that'll change the rating of the film from, I don't know, PG to R, or PG-13 to R.
Yeah.
If you see the original intended ending, it's an R-rated film, and it's an animated Batman film, and that's pretty cool.
Also, there was a movie that was also proposed called Batman Dark Knight, which never came to fruition, I guess. And then Darren Aronofsky and Frank Miller. Frank Miller I talked about in my last review of Night of the Creeps, how he, was responsible for some of the comics, Daredevil and Batman Returns and 300 and all that kind of stuff. Darren Aronofsky, who did Pi, what else did he do? Was it Requiem for a Dream?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were gonna do Batman Year One, and that never came to be either. But they did make, I don't know, well, probably wasn't them, but a cartoon animated movie came out.
Yeah, no, that wasn't them. But
yeah, and
I mean, Frank Miller was involved,
right? And you said that you weren't super a big fan of that or the Year One comic.
Yeah, not like Year One to me was always like a story that it was cool once.
Right.
But going back and looking at it, it's like, it's kind of, I don't want to use the term useless, but I don't.
You just did.
I don't need it.
Yeah. Which means
like
useless.
I already know it.
Yeah.
Which I don't quite understand. It was written by the same guy that did Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Which I can revisit Dark Knight Returns and appreciate it. Year One, for some reason, the comic and the movie, I just can't. I get bored with it. Whereas Dark Knight Returns, when I feel like looking at it again, I get excited. I look at it and I'm like, damn, this is really cool. So
another movie that was going to come out, and I'm super glad it did not, was a Robin spin-off film with Chris O'Donnell. But once again, I wasn't a fan of Chris O'Donnell as Robin, but that could have been the director's fault for the direction. So we don't know. We don't really know what that would have been like. Because, I mean, you yourself is a Robin fan of like him becoming Nightwing and that whole thing. Like,
yeah, and all Robins.
Yeah. So it
Jason Todd.
Yeah.
Got killed, came back, became Red Hood.
Yes, Batman under the Red Hood. Yeah, was it good?
Basically Batman, but the Punisher. So he killed people. Tim Drake, smarter than Batman. I appreciate the character.
And the Robin that died in the comic was not Dick Grayson.
It was Jason Todd.
Jason Todd, yeah, because I remember as a kid when that comic came out, and people that I guess
he was the second Robin.
Yeah, he was the second Robin, and I guess people that knew nothing about comic books, I guess they didn't read them or knew nothing. They were all upset and threw a big temper tantrum. Why did you kill Dick Grayson? Oh, well, they didn't kill Dick Grayson,
Yeah. And which that's ironic because that is ironic. Because, okay, so at that time in the 80s or whatever.
This is when I was a kid, so I mean, hey, it was the 80s.
DC tried this thing out where they basically, like, you remember how like the 60s Batman episodes might end like with that cliffhanger, and the narrator would be like, the narrator would be like, how, like, is Batman gonna make it out of this kind of thing?
Yeah, no, he's not.
They tried to do that in the comics, and for the death of Jason Todd, they had 2 numbers, a hotline.
Yeah,
you could call and vote, and it was, do you think Jason should live or should Jason die?
I didn't even know about that hotline. How did I get by me?
Because it was in the comics, man.
Okay.
Like,
I never owned that comic. That's the thing. I never owned that. I had Death of Superman.
So, most people said Jason should die. Right. And they killed him.
Obviously.
And then everybody was like, what the fuck? You just killed him! And it was, like, that's why I say it's ironic. It's a really funny snapshot in comic book history.
I remember seeing that cover though on the cover of Batman holding Robin, Death in the Family. I remember seeing that on the shelves of the comics, in the comic shelves when I was a kid. And I remember that's a very like powerful cover.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And the Joker
and then
killed him or whatever.
And then I love how they eventually brought that all back.
Right.
And you know what?
It's like Superman didn't stay dead either. He came back as different.
You will appreciate this. You know who wrote the Return of Jason Todd?
Who wrote that?
Judd Winnick.
I don't even know who the fuck that is.
The Real World Season 3. He was one of the people in the Real World Season 3. And he always said on the Real World, he was like, my goal is to write comic books. That was the season with like Puck and all that shit.
Oh, right, I remember that guy.
Yeah. I just thought that was
I remember
interesting.
That Real World was that when I was in high school on MTV, and I consciously tried to avoid that show, but I couldn't get away from Puck because he was on every goddamn
that show
news fucking thing. They always talked about Puck for some reason. He was controversial or some shit. But yeah, I don't remember that guy.
His name's Judd Winnick, and he was on the Real World.
Wow.
And he got his wish. He actually followed through, and he wrote one of my favorite comic book storylines.
But, as everybody knows, eventually another live-action Batman film did get made, and it was the Chris Nolan series. We have Batman Begins.
Yes.
Cillian Murphy from 28 Days Later as the Scarecrow. And who's Commissioner Gordon? Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman
played Sid Vicious and Sid and Nancy.
I have to pee. Can we stop for a second?
Can you piss your pants? We're almost done.
Okay, we'll just edit that out then. Okay, so Cillian Murphy, Gary Oldman, Christian Bale is Batman.
American Psycho, and the movie you told me about just a minute ago.
Equilibrium.
Right.
Yeah. And then, what's his name? Played Alfred.
Fuck.
Michael Caine.
Yes, Michael Caine, man.
Classic.
Mr. Destiny, yeah.
Classic.
And amongst other movies. But as we know, we have the rest of the series, which was The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger, and that, I thought that was he was a great Joker. And then we had The Dark Knight Rises, and we had Bane and Catwoman again.
Yeah, Bane played by
the guy from Bronson.
Tom. No. That's
not Tom. It's Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy, yes.
And then chick from Princess Diaries, the girl from Princess Diaries. What was her name that played the Catwoman? Oh my gosh! I know it. Yeah. My brain's freezing. But I thought she was a really good Catwoman. She was
pretty good.
I thought Tom Hardy was a good Bane, although I don't know why he talked like a wizard. But.
Yeah. And see,
that's what he sounded like.
Yeah, no, I know. And see, for Dark Knight Rises, it's the same. I'm so tired of saying this, but it's not as bad as Batman Forever.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing that I'm gonna say is that
there
are aspects that I really like.
I didn't care for it overall, but there were aspects that I liked.
There were aspects that I really, really did like. There was some actual cinematic, director decisions or whatever that were made that I thought were really cool. When he fights Bane, there's all this build up the first time there's all this build up.
Yeah.
And then you almost don't even notice, but the music, like any background music, just drops out. Like it made every punch feel like, because that's the only sound you're getting.
Right.
There are aspects of it that I really like a lot, but overall I agree with you. It just was not that good.
But then after that we had Affleck as Batman in Batman versus Superman.
Yes.
Which, once again, I tell you what, I really liked Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I did. As far as the rest of the movie, I could care less. But
I liked the action scenes with when Batman was just doing Batman stuff.
Yeah.
I liked those action scenes a lot, and I like that suit a lot. And I'm not even a hater on Ben Affleck. Like, yeah, Daredevil, that sucked. But
no, with Ben Affleck,
yeah. But the
Kingpin was good in that movie.
No, I remember. Yeah, no, it was.
Michael
but I remember,
Duncan,
right? But I remember when they announced Ben Affleck was going to play Batman, and people were like, "Oh my God, there's," and I was more worried about Zack Snyder being the director because I just do not like anything Zack Snyder has done.
I liked The Watchmen, but they did change the ending, and
And I thought the same thing, but the more I see it, the more I'm kind of like, you know what?
I think the reason...
Let's read the fucking book.
I think the reason that... I've only seen The Watchmen a few times, but I think one of the reasons I liked it is because me and my friend Tim were big Alan Moore fans, and he had the Watchmen comics, and I used to always say, man, this would make a good superhero movie. And I remember he used to tell me, never going to happen, because Alan Moore doesn't want to have anything to do with DC or all this stuff, and I don't know, he's like, that movie it's just never going to take place. And then it did take place, and then I was like, holy shit, like, it actually is going to happen. So I went and saw it, and I was impressed by it in the theaters, and then I did buy it on DVD, and I've seen it a couple times since, but I think I've only seen it maybe like 3 times. So I don't know. Maybe if I watch it more, I'll have the same opinion as you. But as of right now, I still like it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's almost like he's fucking with me personally. Zack Snyder can set up. He can have costume design be perfect.
What you said, he was a music video director, right?
Yeah, he can have.
So he's got a knack for visuals.
Yes, he can have things looking so right, but as far as the actual story of what's happening is just so stupid. And I will say this, he even had the balls, the audacity. In my mind, from my recollection, this is happening more now, it seems like, but he was one of the first to, like, actually just basically tell the fan base to fuck off. Like, it ain't yours, it's mine.
Right.
And this is how it's gonna be. And then he wonders why shit's tanking and why Warner Brothers now is, like, scrambling to find a new direction for their stuff, But yeah, he literally, in an interview, probably multiples, said, fuck the fans. This is my story. I don't need to be held to it, like, whoa.
Right. And then,
holy shit.
And then we had...
You thought it couldn't get worse than Michael Bay, and then Zack Snyder was like, hold my beer.
And as you know, we talked about this earlier, in 2021 we got The Batman coming out. We've got The Joker coming out this year.
The movie.
Movie, and, besides those films, and there's been countless toys, video games made from the original Tim Burton Batman, like the Nintendo game was great.
Yeah. That's one of the best games on the NES. And it doesn't even have to do with it being Batman.
Yeah, I had Batman Returns on Sega Genesis too.
Like
also, or
Batman on NES is right up there with Contra. Like it's just a good game.
it's got
Just
like
such
that,
a good game.
it's got the great. You said they made an 8-bit version of that.
An 8-bit figure.
A figure, yeah.
Yeah,
like,
but I mean, it doesn't look 8-bit. It's just colored that way.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's like
the same
so
thing
it's
they
all
did.
purple and blue.
Somebody made a Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees
Yeah.
8-bit figure too, which it was the same thing, like the way it's colored and whatnot. And I used to own those two games too. I had Friday the 13th. I think I still do, and then Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay. Well, I think we've talked enough about Batman. We totally got off subject from the Tim Burton film and just talked about the entire Batman series.
Kind of like Ninja.
We did it with Ninja Turtles, so this is basically our Batman episode. But in the meantime, check out Tim Burton's Batman and any of the other movies that we talked about, the animated series or Under the Red Hood, some of the animated movies.
There's so many. Yeah.
And just because we said that we didn't like Year One or Batman or Robin, and if you've never seen them, I mean, make up your own mind. Go watch. Don't just take our word for it. Go watch and see for yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, we'll be coming back. We're gonna do at some point. Me and Sam's gonna do Dick Tracy. Ghostbusters, and who knows what else. But we'll be coming back with that. Me and Darren's going to do Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, which will probably end up being a Bill and Ted episode. So, anyway, in the meantime, check these movies out and keep watching.